show lined up today. I'm Julie Vandekamp, Chief Marketing and Operations Officer at Sonar, joined by Malcolm Harris.
Hello.
Host of What the Truck and part-time host of FreightWaves Today, filling in for Craig today.
I'm happy to be here. It's so good to see you on a wonderful Monday here on FreightWaves Today. We got a really, really good show coming up.
Yeah, we do. So we took a little break on Friday, but we're back at it this week. We have great guests lined up for the entire week. And as mentioned, we'll be filming live from Las Vegas on Wednesday. So we will be at that 12 Pacific time spot versus noon Eastern. But today we've got a great show. We have Bo Bates, the CEO of the Evans Network of Companies, here in studio. We have Ari Silke, the COO of TEN, joining us from Minneapolis virtually. We have Jason Provancha, the CEO of Steam Logistics, in studio joining us live, and Jeff D'Angelo, the co-founder and CEO of Fura, who will be joining us virtually as well. So we've got great guests. We've got some decent headlines. We've got a great Sonar update. So it's going to be a good show.
It's going to be a great show. I was just looking at the list of folks that are going to be on the show. This is like a Wendy's, a 4 for 4. I think we're going to have a good show. For sure.
Do they still do that?
I don't know. I think they might have biggie bags.
It's got to be more expensive.
Yeah, no. Inflation has definitely squashed the 4 for 4, but it's going to be good here.
We had a Wendy's across the street at my high school, and so my best friend and I would go every day after school before cheerleading, and it was $3.24 every time. We knew exactly how much it was, so we had the right amount to get a junior cheeseburger, a junior fry, and a junior drink, and that's what we did like every day. $3.24.
Okay.
It would be way more now.
I'm still a Frosty guy. Do you still enjoy Frosties?
You know, I don't do so well with milk, but I think my kids do.
Okay, I get that.
But I bet, yeah, I mean, they're delicious.
They are delicious.
How was your weekend?
Overall, really good. Had a good Juneteenth. Just hung out with some friends, barbecued some, went on a couple of walks. Nothing too crazy. I really just kind of stayed, and I knew that this is going to be a busy week, obviously, with the things that are happening. But overall, it was a really good week, and watched Spain absolutely go to work, and of course, the United States over Australia as well. So
yeah, they're through to the finals,
or
to the next round, not the finals.
Listen,
yes,
if you do not believe in the United States, now is the best time ever in the history of ever to believe in the United States. How was your weekend?
It was good. Father's Day was great. Got to see my dad briefly and spent time with my husband and our kids, and it was good.
It's awesome. 10 out of 10, just like today's show.
All right, with that, we will get to the headlines. Here's your Morning Minute.
We kick things off with a major advancement in commercial vehicle safety technology that's targeting mass production across the Class 8 market. Bendix Commercial Vehicle Systems has officially selected AIVA to integrate 4D lidar sensors and perception software into its next-generation collision mitigation systems for Class 8 trucks. The collaboration builds on Bendix's Fusion Advanced Driver Assistance System platform, which already operates across most major Class 8 original equipment manufacturers, with roughly 300,000 new Class 8 trucks entering the North American market annually. This program is targeting mass production of one of the first lidar-based L2+ driver assistance solutions for commercial vehicles. This marks a strategic shift toward using advanced perception technology in active safety systems, not just higher levels of autonomy. Over in cross-border logistics, Echo Global Logistics is making an aggressive play to dominate the entire United States-Mexico freight corridor. The Chicago-based third-party logistics provider has formally unveiled a new suite of intra-Mexico domestic transportation services, giving shippers a fully integrated supply chain solution spanning both sides of the border. The expansion includes city-to-city freight transportation, port drayage, domestic intermodal services, and managed transportation solutions across Mexico, all integrated with Echo's existing cross-border operations and its Echo X Border division for customs brokerage and warehousing. While Echo has managed cross-border transportation services for more than a decade, the company significantly expanded its Mexico operations in 2024 by opening locations in Mexico City, Monterrey, and Laredo, Texas, allowing it to capture growing freight movements tied to nearshoring trends and North American manufacturing. Finally, autonomous technology is officially moving beyond pilot programs and into full-scale daily operations at a major logistics hub. DHL has transitioned autonomous vehicles from its Fast Forward Challenge into live daily operations at its Advanced Regional Center in Singapore, partnering with Zelostec to operate fully electric, driverless vehicles for point-to-point transfers between logistics facilities on campus. Employees load up to 3 pallets or 1.5 tons per vehicle and dispatch it via a mobile app with real-time tracking, with the autonomous shuttles operating 24/7 using sensors, mapping, and artificial intelligence to navigate traffic and obstacles. Each vehicle averages 40 trips and covers 28 kilometers daily, delivering consistent performance at roughly half the operating cost of diesel trucks while cutting emissions to support customers' sustainability goals.
All right, so lots of tech news, right?
A lot of tech
talking
news.
about lidar, collision mitigation, and then obviously about autonomous technology that DHL is using in Singapore. Interesting, but it's on campus,
Yeah.
fully electric. Makes sense to be a starting point for where they would use it. But I think the Echo story is super interesting.
Huge.
Not just because they're working to dominate U.S. and Mexico border crossings, but I just think nearshoring is such an important topic right now.
Absolutely.
We have a Sonar sit rep that is available talking all about Mexico nearshoring and that impact on the U.S. freight market. You can access that either via FreightWaves in the Market Monitor or with a Sonar subscription. All of those sit reps are within the UI available for download. But Mexico surpassed China as the U.S.'s largest import partner in 2023, and then has held that rank since then. So I don't know that we talk about the border enough and the imbalance there, and that there's a 3-to-1 ratio of loads coming out versus loads going in, since we import so much, and how you deal with that, from a transportation standpoint. The short length of haul is not such a big deal to come back
For sure.
empty, but the longer destinations, so it'll be interesting to watch Echo.
It definitely is interesting to watch Echo. We talked about this a little bit on What the Truck this morning, but for me and my standpoint is that when a brokerage really does operate out of Mexico, it is the biggest risk versus the biggest reward, because there is so much that goes into properly executing in Mexico that people just don't understand. We'll talk with Jason Bravancha here on the next hour. They recently got a Mexico operation, and just the challenges that face brokerages. You really have to be operationally savvy and have all your ducks in a row to operate effectively, or, that's a death sentence for some brokerages that are not as big as Echo. You typically can't and don't navigate well unless you have your ducks in a row from an operational standpoint. So good on Echo. I'm excited to see how this unfolds over time.
Yeah, the regulation is just so different. And so much less regulation, right? For carriers and
For sure. And we didn't even talk about the main thing, cargo theft. That is still a huge piece, which Noi reports on day in and day out. When it comes to cross-border. So a lot of moving pieces with this one for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. The one with DHL, I thought that was really cool too. But yes, it is smaller, right? This is not going to be something that's groundbreaking stuff, but I think you're continuing to see these trends. We're having several guests throughout the weeks to talk about autonomous vehicles. Even today, to a certain degree, we're going to be talking about it. So I do think you'll see the innovations happen over time, but there's still a lot of people skeptical, which they should be. But also, this is not going anywhere anytime soon, Julie.
Not on U.S.
No way.
Fully autonomous on
No way.
interstates
No way.
outside of maybe a few states.
There's small runs, right? And I think there's a timing issue with it. I think there's going to be different caveats around it, but I think we're still a ways away.
Well, these are small loads. I think if I remember, it's just a
for
handful
sure.
of pallets at a time. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Definitely.
All right, with that, we are going to hear a quick note from one of our sponsors and be right back with Bo Bates. It's National Safety Month, which makes this a great time to ask how your fleet can prevent more accidents. Samsara AI detects risks in real time, giving teams more visibility into what's happening on the road and more context to coach drivers before risky moments become incidents. Fleets using Samsara Complete AI Safety Solution have reduced crash rates by nearly 75%. See the data behind the results in the Samsara Safety Report at samsara.com/freightwaves. All right, welcome back. Welcome, Bo Bates, CEO of Evans, to the show. We're so glad you're here today, and thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you. My first time, as you know, so it was great being here.
Yeah, and back in the Southeast, kind of back to your roots and your home, huh?
Yeah, it's been a long, long time. I moved to Pennsylvania some 28 years ago. Well, actually more than that, 35 years ago.
Wow.
So it's been a very long time. A little bit of background, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and I had never lived further north than Atlanta until I got out of college. So very, very different being from the Northeast. I'm sure you can hear my northern accent. I've been there so long.
Well, I mean, we moved around a lot too, and I don't know that I have a Southern or a Midwestern accent. You end up somewhere in the middle, I think.
I think that's
I think
right.
once you come home, it peaks out a little bit. So you're fine, bro. You're
That's
absolutely
great.
fine.
Is this home for you?
No, so Atlanta, actually, you mentioned Atlanta.
Okay.
So originally from Atlanta, then went up to
Nice.
school, UT in Knoxville, and
Okay.
this is home now. I don't see myself leaving Chattanooga, so I'm glad you're here.
I went to Georgia Tech.
You went to Georgia Tech?
Yep,
Listen,
so
I'm
right
not
down
I'm
the
not that smart of a guy, so
I think you did fine. I think you did
I
fine.
appreciate it. We made it happen anyway. Ramblin' Wreck, go Georgia Tech. I love that.
All right,
So,
but will you tell us a little bit about the history of Evans and your business model and the agent model and just
Sure.
fill us in a bit?
Sure, absolutely. So Evans was founded back in 1939 by my wife's grandfather. So I married into the business. I am the third leader. My wife's grandfather ran the business for quite a while. My father-in-law ran the business for about 50 years. And I've been sitting in the CEO chair since about 2010. The business model changed a number of times through the years, as you might imagine, with that length of a history. But we really settled in on this agent-based business model back in the 2000, 2005 time frame. And it was driven a lot by some acquisitions that we made. I think I was saying to you when we met the first time, when I talk about the business model, I compare it to a franchise-like organization. And my oversimplified comparison point, my analogy is McDonald's.
yeah.
So the local McDonald's store owner has his own business, hires his own employees, rents his own space. He flies the McDonald's flag out front. So we are in the business of making local trucking entrepreneurs successful. We work with them, we support them, we do everything to do with the back office. So we bill it, we collect it, we insure it, we provide IT systems to allow them to do their job. We provide sales support. So it's a great business model. And today we have about 650 agent offices in the United States.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And more than anything else, we're hauling ocean boxes. So we do dry van, we do some flatbed, we do refrigerated freight as well. But by and large, when I talk about Evans, I talk about us as a drayman. Yeah.
100%. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I want to stay on the theme of fast food because I am a little hungry. All right. So, when it comes to, you said you treat every individual, I guess, like a franchisee of a McDonald's.
Yep.
Well, the thing that I love most about McDonald's, Bo, is that you can go to a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, you can go to one on campus at Georgia Tech,
Yep.
and the sandwich and the fries taste the same. How do all of the franchisees still kind of stay within this Evan fabric and operate the same and be the same?
Great question. I would love to tell you that we've perfected that, but that is a challenge. We want to have service standards that all of our agents live up to. I think it is getting a little bit easier. I did not say this specifically before, but our fleet is 100% independent contractor.
Okay.
So we're dealing with the independent contractors as well. So it's independent drivers, it's independent store owners. It's getting easier now because of in-cab technology. We've got a little bit more visibility to what's going on.
Right.
But we really want to hone in on those service standards, get the product there on time. As my son used to say, in this day and age, getting the information back to the customer is as important as having the load deliver on time. So making sure that we're living up to the metrics and giving the report cards and giving back the information that our customers need in real time so that they can invoice their customers and take care of their customers too.
100%. That's a great answer, Bo.
Great question.
Thank you.
So you guys certainly have a drayage niche, right? And you mentioned that before. So tell us what's happening in the drayage market, what you guys are seeing with some volatility with tariffs and imports going up and down. How is that affecting your business? And what's your take on the market?
It has been 2024 and 25 were extremely flat years for dray from where we sit. A lot of that was due to the tariff noise. We definitely saw a little bit of a pre-buying phenomenon early in the year last year. But last year really was a very soft demand market. I said earlier we do a little bit of truckload work as well. So we started seeing the truckload market improve measurably toward the end of the year last year into the first of the year this year. And just most recently in the last month or two, we believe that some of that momentum is carrying over into dray. Some of the dynamics there are the CDL drivers leaving the market. A lot of talk about that particular issue, but we do see demand tightening. We do see that our volumes are up a little bit year over year, and we're actually starting to feel like we have a little bit of a opportunity to get some price power that we have not had in a really, really long time. So dray market is performing very well. I'll quantify that a little bit. We budgeted for Evans to grow the top line this year 10% based on volume. We had no price assumption in our business model. Through 5 months, we're spot on with the budget that we wrote. And I think a little bit of tailwind with the pricing could really kick the business into another year. So we're very happy where we're at right now.
What are the big growth drivers in an agent-based model like yours?
So when we think about growth, you think about it really as a three-legged stool. We concentrate on same-store sales. I was talking earlier about the support that we give our agents, helping them with sales, helping them manage equipment pools better, bringing new customer relationships, all the things that we do to help support agents. So we're trying to drive same-store sales, and forever we've said our target was 2 times GDP in that component of growth. The other thing we do and do very well is because we think we have such a strong value proposition, we're out asking people to become agents. Come join the Evans family, bring your business over. This is a great place to be if you are already an agent, but it's a great place to be if you are an entrepreneur who wants to be, maybe a dispatcher, maybe a fleet owner. So we grow the business organically by adding new agents. And then the third component of growth would be M&A, and we have not made an acquisition. We made one in 2025 toward the third quarter. But it'd been about 5 years since we made an acquisition. So, but the three stools are the same store sales, new agent addition, and go out and let's buy some other things and add them to our mix.
All right, one more follow-up on that, and then I swear, Malcolm, I'll give you a shot.
No, please.
So I think part of the beauty of an agent-based model is that your costs are highly variable, right? So it makes it easier to scale up and down quickly to meet those customer needs and meet demand. How is that beneficial, and what does it look like in today's market?
You nailed it. It truly is a variable cost business model, and I'm painting with a big broad brush here to just put some quantification around it. So for every dollar that we invoice a customer, it's a revenue sharing model. So the independent contractor who owns the truck, does the work, pays for the fuel, gets the bulk of the revenue. It makes a lot of sense, right? The agent is the dispatcher, the coordinator, customer service, customer facing, and driver facing. The agent gets a piece of the revenue, and those partners get paid out within 1 week of invoicing. And then Evans holds on to the accounts receivable, collects the money, and we get a piece of the revenue there. So to your point, it's very easy to scale that model up and down as long as drivers are plentiful, or we can add new agents. We can scale the business up when the market's good, and when the market's bad, we can scale the business back down. So it's we love the business model. Can't say enough about it.
No, it's a fantastic business model. Thank you for breaking that down for us. And I want to ask, because I've been in your world in drayage. Now, I used to work a long time ago. I had a lot more hair in my days and working around drayage. But I know the problems that come with drayage. For example, chassis availability, demurrage that is random, just things that you can't control. How are you able to keep customers ahead of the curve and deliver, because obviously you're doing fantastic, knowing the things that happen in the background with these bottleneck issues and the issues that I just mentioned as well?
Jen and I were talking a minute ago about the chassis piece of it as an example.
Yeah.
So we certainly have an entire staff in our corporate office that oversees the chassis. Technology makes it a little bit easier. And we do a lot of things like long-term leasing of chassis as well to make sure that we have a supply even when the market gets a little bit tight. It has been a long time since we've experienced significant chassis issues.
Okay.
And one of the drivers of that might be a macro event. It might be bad weather, it might be labor issue, it might be something like that that's going on in the macro world that really drives that capacity shortage or chassis shortage in a particular market or two.
Right.
So those things do happen. I think that our agents are experts because they're right there in the local markets. They know the local market way better than our corporate folks do. So they handle it well there, and we provide that support on the back end to make sure that we're recovering those costs from the proper individual when those invoices do inevitably arise at our building.
That's fantastic stuff, Bo. I really enjoy it. I could talk to you for 10 hours, so I'm trying to popcorn back to Julie. So
when you talk about, we talked about chassis, but in general, ports, intermodal, imports, there are a lot of moving parts there, and there are certainly some bottlenecks. So what do you think is a bottleneck or an issue there that needs to be looked at and fixed that no one is really talking about and that you'd like to shine some light on?
The infrastructure in and around the port cities. We grew up on the East Coast, so that's where we started our business. We've expanded into the Gulf and to Houston particularly. We do a lot of rail ramp work on the eastern 2/3. We're not operating a lot of trucks out in the West Coast. But anyway, in those markets, the ports they're landlocked. There's no more place to expand. And so the congestion in and around the ports, at the gates, at the chassis yards, that to me is one of the biggest challenges that our folks are facing. The ports themselves are doing a great job getting boxes off port and into inland ramp facilities. So that is alleviating some of that pressure at the port. And another initiative that we see are what I'll call a fast gate or fast lanes at the ports. Extended hours is the easy one, right? Leave the gate open a little bit more. But that congestion issue is one that we deal with. And hopefully we will be dealing with this year as the freight market continues to pick up a little bit.
Yeah,
would love to have that part.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a bad problem.
Right,
Yeah,
would love to have that problem, right.
So with the future and everything that's happening in terms of technological and innovation, we just talked about it in our morning minute about autonomous vehicles. How does that look in a dray environment? How does that look?
There are a few companies out there now that really are taking a run at that particular issue. How do we get autonomous vehicles in and around ports? I think that is going to be a short haul. How can we get the boxes out of the port 24 hours a day without drivers? But I think that technology is coming. We currently do not have any ongoing projects, but we're talking to technology providers about the possibility of being a beta tester, particularly in and around the Port of Houston, where we do a lot.
That's really cool.
I think it's coming, probably not in my career, since I'm getting up there in age, but it's interesting to see our technology folks, particularly our CIO, who is a very forward-thinking lady, talk about that issue and help us investigate the opportunities that are out there for us going forward.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we also talked about nearshoring a bit in the morning minute when we went through the headlines. If you were a shipper and you were trying to build supply chain resiliency or resilience, what are your thoughts on that, nearshoring versus importing otherwise? And then obviously, how does that affect your business?
One of the indexes that I take a look at that I probably think is as predictive for our demand on the intermodal side is the ISM, the Purchasing Managers Index. That index has been in a positive zone for like 5 months in a row now. I don't know that I've read this anywhere, but in my mind, I attribute that to some of this nearshoring conversation going on, that we are expecting the manufacturing sector here to pick up substantially. For us, I think that I always say that we're kind of commodity agnostic. If it can go in a box and we can go to the ramp and pick it up, we really don't care. I kind of think the same thing about nearshoring versus importing. If the manufacturing comes back here, let's say to Mexico, let's say that those boxes are going to come into the United States, a lot of them on trains, we're going to have that drayage opportunity at various rail ramps across the country. So we are a little bit agnostic. And then the other place where we might benefit from that would be 53-foot intermodal. So with the fuel prices, with everything going on now, with more boxes coming back in the United States, a lot of that freight, we certainly believe a good portion of that freight would get on the rail, and it would create opportunities for us to do dray work on both ends of that domestic move. So we think that the nearshoring efforts are going to be a positive for our overall company.
It's fantastic.
I could ask you questions and learn from you all day, but I've got 2 more topics that I want to make sure we touch on. So you mentioned M&A earlier. What do you think the M&A landscape is like in our industry and transportation right now?
Getting better, starting to heat up a little bit is my belief. There have been transactions going on in the last handful of years in the space. Some of them are a little bit more of, I would say, niche players, so maybe it hasn't been quite as broad as it was a few years back. But we're starting to hear a lot more activity, we're having a lot more conversations with folks, whether they're private or even private equity, but we're starting to hear a lot more activity going on. So I think you're going to see the number of deals tick up here in the near term, and we hope to be part of that conversation, obviously.
Well, so speaking of that, being privately owned and private equity versus being a public company, what benefits does that provide you?
Ooh, that's a great question. Not having worked at a publicly traded company since I was 25 years old, I don't have a great perspective on some of the things that those managers deal with. But I think we have a little bit more flexibility. I think we are able to be a little bit longer term thinking, not having to report our numbers out every single quarter and be as focused on the short term numbers. So I would say the flexibility and being able to be nimble and think long term and really, really think about the investment. For us right now, that's all about our IT. We're spending 2.5 times on an annual basis what we did 3-4 years ago. So we took advantage of this slow freight market to be a time to be reflective and reinvest in the company to set us up for what we certainly hope is the market turn that is just around the corner. So we think we're in a good spot right now.
All right. So with that, what's on the horizon? What's the future of Evans? What are you guys looking to accomplish this year and in the coming years?
Ooh, I'm going to keep this one real personal. Can I throw the retirement word out there? I know some of my folks are listening, so I say that jokingly for some of my folks on the phone. We would like to see the business double in size over the next 3 to 4 years. We've been effectively flat from a revenue standpoint over the last couple of years. Our high water mark was 2023, and the market corrected pretty rapidly in 23 and into 24. So we'd like to see ourselves get back on that growth engine. And I said it earlier, M&A is certainly one of the stools of that. I think part of that story will be expanding the service offering. As I said earlier, we truly have been focused on dray, not exclusively, but I think there's opportunities for us to expand into more transloading, warehousing, pick up maybe a refrigerated partner somewhere that would put us as a meaningful service provider in that as well. So I think there's a lot of upside in the short-term future for us. I mentioned the budget earlier, wrote a big budget this year, feeling pretty good about where we sit this year. So onward and upward, up and to the right, as they say, right?
That's what they say, bro. Yeah. I could ask you a million questions. We have a little bit of time left. If you could go back to 2016, right? What's one thing that you would do differently?
Ooh, 2016.
Decade ago.
I think we should have invested in in-cab technology a lot sooner than we did. We put ELDs into our trucks. We partnered with a couple of different providers, and we had a couple of providers through acquisitions as well. So I think if we would have had a single solution in cab and used it really more than an ELD device, but really a business intelligence device, I think if we'd have made that investment 10 years ago, that would have been a great move for the company.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited as I can be about where we are now. We are partnering with, why am I drawing a blank? Jen, help me out. Motive, sorry about that. I drew a blank. It's 65, I told you I'm getting near that retirement age. We're partnering with Motive and really excited about a lot of the things that product is going to do for our business, for our agents, and for our drivers.
It's fantastic. I know you said you're getting, ready for retirement, but I think this podcasting career, this media career is just getting started because you're one heck of a storyteller.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. It was great. You guys asked great questions. And I said to you when we met, I could talk about the business all day long.
Yeah, well, we love to talk about the business as a whole and the freight market. So thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for coming and being in studio. Hopefully we'll get to talk again soon.
Thank
With
you very
that,
much.
we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Race car drivers like NASCAR champion Jesse Love are a lot like commercial drivers. pros. But even the best in the world still watch the tape to see what they missed and get better next time. So we created the Samsara Driving Coach.
Great race, Jesse, but you were following too closely and you were speeding.
Okay, you got me on that one.
Samsara uses insights from millions of professional drivers to coach drivers in real time.
Because even champions need a coach.
Give me the keys.
What's the masterclass all about? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're a driver, you're an owner-operator, you're a fleet owner, whether you're in compliance services, dispatcher, no matter what it is, masterclass is for you. Every 2 weeks, you're going to sit down with me and we're going to go over certain business topics that are related specifically to your small trucking company operations. We're going to help you with everything from compliance to how to negotiate better on the spot board, how to find direct freight, and everything in between. This is the reason why you don't want to miss out on Masterclass. It's about an hour to an hour and a half, and then on top of that, you'll have the library to you so that way you can always research and reflect back onto it. Don't miss out this opportunity. This is built specifically for you. I'm excited and I hope to see you in class.
Imagine a world where your freight moves as fast as a digital pulse. What if your visibility didn't just tell you where a truck was, but exactly where it needed to be 48 hours from now? Think of a logistics network that corrects its own mistakes before they cost you a single dime. What if your supply chain could think for itself? Imagine AI agents negotiating rates in milliseconds, predictive models that solve labor shortages before they even happen. This isn't science fiction, it's the agenda. On July 15th at the historic Old Post Office in Chicago, FreightWaves presents the Supply Chain AI Symposium. We are defining in real time how AI is embedded into every mile, every warehouse, and every handshake. Because in 2026, the future isn't just coming, it's already negotiating. The FreightWaves Supply Chain AI Symposium. Secure your spot now.
And welcome back to FreightWaves Today. That was an awesome segment with Bo.
Yeah, and
Fantastic.
I of course, am invested a little bit. So full disclosure, Jen, who he was referring to off camera, is their VP of Agent Relations. I don't know her title. Anyway, she's my older sister, so she was here in studio watching from the wings and supporting Bo as well. So that was fun for me.
This is fantastic. You did a great job, by the way. That was an awesome interview. I will say this is today's episode is really special. You have the relation, obviously, coming up with Jason. Excited for that one. We got some stuff before Jason, but this is just a really good quality content day here at FreightWaves Today.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
It is. Well, with that, we still have some content to get into. Earlier today, Craig, he took a deep dive into sonar data. Let's take a look.
So I'm in Salt Lake City, about to head to Las Vegas for Samsara Beyond. Please come see us. We'll be transmitting live on Wednesday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. That's a new time, only Wednesday that we'll have that. I want to talk about refrigerated market because the refrigerated market had a slow start to the second quarter. May was kind of soft. And really what we're seeing is it ramp into June. That is related to warmer temperatures. Refrigerated is all about just market temperatures, and really that's what drives the market. In the winter, it's protect from freeze. In the summer, it's about heat. Right now, produce season's popping. We're seeing this both in the refrigerated market as well as in just the overall dry van market. Places like Stockton, California, are really starting to show better conditions. This is a tightening market condition. Tender rejections for refrigerated are up to 25%. It's a sign that it's the strongest market in terms of relative performance the last couple of weeks. What's also interesting is that flatbed has actually cooled a little bit. We had a real strong start to flatbed. Tender rejections are still quite high, but they're not what they were. And it's telling us that really a lot of the pre-positioning for that heavy construction season for data centers, perhaps related to energy and even defense production, has sort of cooled off, and it's something that we're watching. Really, one of the things that I think is really interesting is the refrigerated market is probably the best performing market right now relative to the others, and it's something we're going to watch for the next couple of months to see just how well it does. Van, of course, is tight. Van is doing well. The tender projections are at 16.5%. Headed in July 4th weekend, we expect that to pop. We're going to be watching it this week. Next Friday is July 4th weekend, so this will be something that we should start to expect, at least by midweek, conditions will be tighter. There's an article in Trains magazine that I want to talk about, and it was written by our editor, Bill Stevens. Bill Stevens is on the show every single Wednesday when we do the rail reports. But one of the things that I really was interesting was the conversation around Amazon's expansion of their supply chain and freight operations, and specifically related to intermodal. And in the article, Bill talks about the fact that Amazon could be a competitive threat to the intermodal competitors like J.B. Hunt and Hub Group and others as it enters the market and really starts to take share. My view is a little bit more nuanced than that. I actually think Amazon will pick up intermodal volume, but I think it won't take share from the other intermodal operators. I think it will end up increasing the overall pie available for the other intermodal operators, simply because Amazon has such a large scale, such a large presence. They have a lot of ambitions. They're spending a lot of money to build out their sales force. And they reach a little bit more down market than some of the other large intermodal players. So it's actually going to open up intermodal operations, perhaps to shippers that haven't experienced it before. And it will take some of the long haul freight demand from the truckload operators. It will shift freight that was previously going by truck into the intermodal operations of Amazon, and ultimately it makes that business more competitive. And as companies like Amazon ramp up more intermodal and shippers really experience intermodal, then they're more likely to stay after they realize that the service is pretty good. Really, intermodal is a product where shippers have to discover that the service is pretty good. And once they discover it, they start to really plan it into their operations as sort of a permanent fixture. And I think that's exactly what we'll see. So I don't think this is really an issue of taking significant share from the other intermodal operators. I think Amazon will grow the broader pie, and that will be a real positive development for intermodal operations overall.
All right. What a good update from Craig. A couple things that I think are interesting to talk about. Obviously, refrigerated market continuing to ramp up makes sense. Produce season, and it's getting hot, so those things have to remain cold. Oh yeah.
I see what you,
I was like a pun like you.
I see what you did there. You are fantastic.
I'm so proud. You're rubbing off on me.
Keep cooking.
If we could show the haul map, it's clear that it's produce to me. Yeah. He mentioned Stockton, but even when Max was here last week, I don't know, whatever day that was, we were talking about how Southern Alabama had been hot. And he's like, that's so weird. That was never a market that was hot when I was doing it. And it's got to be produce, right? Berries and those sorts of things coming out of Southern 100%. Alabama. So we're absolutely seeing that happen while flatbed is cooling a bit. Again, very relative. I mean, the tender rejection rate for flatbed is still incredibly high.
Yes.
It's just not spiking the way it was a couple of weeks ago. It remains significantly higher than earlier in the year. Van's still tight. We're still seeing 16.5% tender rejections. But I want your take on this Trains article, and if you think the Amazon expansion will take business from intermodal, or if you think it will actually take business from van.
I think it's going to do, and I don't want to, this is such a cop-out, but a mixture of both.
Yeah.
It really is going to be a mixture of both, because the nature of the beast with Amazon, you're naturally going to see, I guess, a leak of business on both ends. If I just had to guesstimate right now, just because of the infrastructure, van is definitely going to see more just because of the presence of Amazon. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that once people make that, and Craig alluded to it, once they make that initial shift to intermodal and then they're comfortable with the schedule, if they've already changed their schedule to meet, the cut times for the rail or to add a day transit or whatever they need to do, they've already done the work to do it.
For sure.
And if it's giving good service and shows price savings, once they've done the work to do it, they'll stay.
Absolutely. And intermodal is so niche, and there really does, again, like we were talking about with Mexico earlier with the Morning Minute, there has to be an emphasis on this, and a process that's just not as easy as van to replicate. So that's something to definitely think about there as well, Julie. For sure.
All right, so we are going to hear from our sponsor, Highway, and about a fraud story.
Let's do it. A sophisticated cargo theft scheme is raising new alarms about freight security. Hackers allegedly hijacked a Walmart-bound shipment worth $1.7 million from a Massachusetts shipper. More than 103,000 units of condoms and lubricant were the commodity. Here's how it worked. Criminals phished a legitimate carrier, stole its credentials and systems access, then impersonated that carrier to secure the load. They hired real independent drivers who showed up with the correct paperwork, loaded the freight, and redirected the trucks to a warehouse in the Bronx. The drivers were paid. The products have not been recovered. The FBI says an arrest has been made and calls cyber-enabled cargo theft a growing industry threat. Food and beverage theft alone jumped 47% in 2025. The shipper has since overhauled its verification process and says it intentionally slowed down its shipping operation because urgency, they say, is exactly what criminals count on.
All right, and with that, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Ari Silky.
Race car drivers like NASCAR champion Jesse Love are a lot like commercial drivers, pros. But even the best in the world still watch the tape to see what they missed and get better next time. So we created the Samsara driving coach.
Great race, Jesse, but you were following too closely and you were speeding.
Okay, you got me on that one.
Samsara uses insights from millions of professional drivers to coach drivers in real time.
Because even champions need a coach.
Give me the keys.
The super successful people are part of the 1%. They're part of that very, very small percentage. That's why I don't want you to do things that everybody's doing. I want you to do the small things that nobody else is doing. The people that are most successful in this business treat it like it's the only thing that's bringing income into their household. If you do that, then you'll have the same results. These people operate like they have no other chance. They have nothing else going. This is the only breadwinner that they have in play. I'm Adam Wingfield, and this is the FreightWaves Playbook. Become part of the 1%. Sign up for FreightWaves Playbook today.
Welcome back to FreightWaves Today. We've had an awesome show thus far. It's been some great conversations, and we have one coming up right now because trailer leasing is at an inflection point. Rates are recovering, tariffs reshaping equipment economics, technology expectations are rising, and Ari Silky is the Chief Operating Officer of TEN, the Transportation Equipment Network, the largest full-service trailer leaser in North America. He joined TEN to modernize fleet operations through technology, AI, and elevated service delivery. And with that, Ari Silky, welcome to FreightWaves Today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope the week is off to a great start and that the weekend was fantastic.
It was. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for viewers who don't know you, walk us through who you are, what you do at TEN, and why does it matter so much?
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Transportation Equipment Network, or TEN. I've just joined the company this month, so only a few weeks into the role, but super excited about where this business is going and where we can take it in the future. So as you mentioned, the largest full service trailer leasing company in North America. We have north of 80,000 trailers under management, and also uniquely have 45 in-house maintenance bays where we do repairs on both our own trailers and on other people's trailers. Also have a mobile maintenance operation, over 130 trucks that go around to different yards and different sites to keep uptime high on trailers throughout all of our customers.
That's amazing. Um, Maintenance is certainly, an ongoing issue, and retaining and keeping shop and maintenance employees is hard. I think it's hard at carriers. I mean,
Absolutely.
you've had to recruit, I'm sure, for those sorts of things as well.
I
So
have.
how do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're definitely a growing organization and growing our existing shops and adding new shops over time based on customer needs in different geographies or just in different markets and types of repairs that are necessary. I think recruiting is always challenging in almost every industry I've been involved with. Maintenance techs is no different. But if you offer a great work experience, competitive pay and benefits, and are able to make a big impact, and I think in transportation, we've definitely been through lots of different ups and downs, but appears to be a nice growth cycle going forward. And so I think we've got pretty good excitement and momentum, and people are coming to work here.
So when it comes to this industry, there's stuff that has been historically underinvested in, and I could be here all day with you, Ari, to talk through it. But what do you think has been most historically underinvested in, and why is this now such a competitive opportunity, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think different things get different levels of investment at different times in a company's history. Also, different times, different market conditions can drive some of that. And so, assets such as trailers, same is true for other kind of transportation assets, tend to get an outsized investment when market conditions are growing, and then inversely a less investment when market conditions are quieter. So I think the trailers have gone through that cycle, and all transportation companies and all shippers know that customers need on-time delivery, and in order to deliver an on-time delivery in any transportation network serving any shipper, your assets have to have tremendously good uptime. There's just not enough time in almost anyone's transportation network to have significant downtime without material customer impact. And as shipment delivery times continue to improve and increase over time, the appetite for downtime is diminishing if there was any before. And so having the ability to fix assets as quickly as possible is critical. There's no quote silver bullet to prevent a flat tire from happening. There's things you can do to mitigate it, but equipment breakdowns will happen even on the newest fleets. But making sure that you can respond to them, that you have a fleet that has fantastic maintenance records, even more than maybe required by the federal government, as well as the ability to quickly react when a maintenance event happens to get assets back on the road quickly and serve customers and ensure on-time delivery is really important. And investing in that fleet is critical, I think, for any transportation network. And part of TEN's role is to provide a leading edge fleet that can deliver on that promise statement.
So really, a lot of that and maximizing uptime boils down to operational excellence. What does that mean to you?
Yes. To me, that means every trailer, every load, every day delivers on that promise and that value proposition, that they are being delivered to the customer in pristine condition, that they are getting the maintenance that they need throughout their life cycle, and that it's being put in the right use case, whether it's a dry van or refrigerated. We also have flatbed trailers. We have part of our fleet is a very new fleet designed for heavy mileage over the road. Part of our fleet is an older fleet designed for storage that you may have in your yard. And so putting the right asset in the right condition in the hands of the customer that needs it for that use case is our job at TEN. And that's kind of our promise and value proposition to the customer to serve on their needs of their downstream customers.
Ari, it's been a hard and challenging last few years for a lot of organizations within supply chain. And, with this, quote unquote, there's been a freight recession. Now, how does this shape what you're currently building right now at TEN, given everything that we've just been through?
Yeah, no, absolutely. and changes in market dynamics are not new. They're going to shift up and down. And I think components of the value proposition downstream, such as assets, can help companies, carriers, and shippers work through those market dynamics. And so, private fleets will often have a hard decision whether they should buy, rent, or lease a particular asset, including the trailer component of it. Our one of our roles to play is to be that a trailer leasing company that can give the asset to the transportation company, serving the shipper in a cost-effective way that allows them not to tie up a tremendous amount of their own capital and still have a business model that works for them. And so we are a well-capitalized company. We're able to provide products and assets at competitive costs, able to bring in new assets to our fleet to serve all the needs of our customers, and we can take some of that burden actually away from the carrier that would previously, in an infrastructure situation, maybe have deploying capex to serve that need. And so, especially as market conditions change and there can be a growth in the market coming forward, the ability to scale quickly and put those assets put in place, perhaps ahead of deploying capital, can be a really interesting play to rent or lease with a company like 10.
So speaking of renting or leasing, tariffs obviously have had a big impact on the equipment market and trailers as a whole. We did a story in the last couple of weeks about the request for duties to be charged on incoming partially or completed trailers versus those manufactured in the U.S. So how does that change the buy versus lease decision, and how does your organization play into that?
Yeah, no, great question. I think obviously plenty of moving dynamics in that space, but the higher the total cost of the trailer, regardless of the reason why, whether it's the price of steel or tariffs or other components of that, the harder it becomes for the smaller and even mid-size transportation providers to kind of stomach that, which again can limit growth. If you're not able to get enough assets, you're not able to take the growth of the loads that maybe your customers, your shippers are asking you for, and therefore you don't grow as much. And I think we have a really competitive offering, whether it's a short-term rental that we want to utilize one of our trailer assets for, or more of a long-term lease play where we're taking the burden of that capital by procuring that asset or borrowing you, leasing you, renting one of our assets that allows you to take the capital that you have and invest in other parts of your business. And so I think many companies, both large and small, have found that to be a really beneficial business model and one we continue to expand, grow, and provide different types of operations and offerings to customers based on their needs.
Now, Ari, this is an ever-changing landscape, and I'd like for you to answer this one because technology expectations, of course, are rising fast all across the board, whether internally, externally. My question is, what should fleet operators actually be demanding from a leasing partner right now?
Yeah, this one I'm happy to answer, and I feel strongly about it. I think what we're seeing in the transportation industry is the beginnings of a shift from what I would call a reactive use of technology and maintenance expense, shifting to a proactive one. So what I mean by that, I think general tracking of assets in the transportation industry is pretty ubiquitous. It's pretty wide scale, meaning you know where your trailers are and you can locate them if you need to. I think going forward, you're going to see a shift from simple tracking to additional diagnostics that you have on trailers, and many fleets, private fleets, have this today, where you can see what's happening, whether that's tire pressure sensors or cargo sensors, cameras inside of a trailer. That type of technology, I think, will become the standard in the future. And what that allows shippers to do, again, small and large shippers, is to have better visibility of what's happening with that asset from a repair maintenance component. So you can move towards predictive maintenance and understand what's happening to that trailer ahead of when it actually breaks down. Nobody wants to break down. It's the most expensive thing. A repair on the side of the road is a bad experience for the driver, for the owner of the fleet, for the leaser, and for the shipper. And so that should be prevented wherever it can. And when you can look at indicators, whether it's a slow leak on a tire or other components, brakes wearing down, or things that can give you signals into what may be coming or likely coming in the future, you take preventive and proactive movements against those activities, you actually will save money in the ecosystem and create a better experience. And so I think there's still an evolution happening in the industry in this space. I think the role of the leaser is to help our customers along that journey and either advise or provide a lot of that technology going forward to create that ideal experience for the carrier and then ultimately for the shipper and the end customer of the goods inside that trailer.
So shifting from technology to operations, what do you think is the biggest operational gap in trailer leasing currently?
Yeah, I look at it kind of from the customer backwards, and the customer simply wants the package at the front door on time. And then if you look at what components are required to deliver on that, every trailer needs to do its job every day. In order to do its job, it needs to have high uptime. And in order to achieve that high uptime, you need to have high operational excellence. So that comes down to proper inspections. It comes down to, in some cases, random audits. Tied to the earlier point on predictive maintenance of what's going to fail next, to ensure that the asset being used in the field is as of high quality as possible so that you can deliver on that end customer promise of getting that package or good or whatever is being moved to that end customer as scheduled. And so there's a lot that goes into that, and it takes a tremendous amount of operational rigor across the supply chain to actually deliver on that. And many companies are delivering on that, in very shorter windows than have been done in the past. And so there's limited room in the schedule for recovery or a failure. And so you have to respond very fast if there is a failure. But the better answer is to predictively anticipate the failure, get ahead of it, and ensure it never happens.
Ari, a lot of folks say that they're quote unquote full service, specifically a full service leaser. But what does this actually mean in real practice? And why should a fleet operator actually care about this?
Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple different models you can use in kind of the rent and lease space. There's one model where you take the asset, you take it for a period of time, months or years, and you're responsible for all the maintenance and upkeep and PMs, et cetera, on that asset. We also offer that solution, but I think the way many of our customers are going is a full service lease offering where we handle all of that maintenance and ensure that you do have the experience and uptime you want, doing the maintenance ourselves, scheduling all of the PMs and handling to ensure the uptime of that trailer is full circle and full life cycle of that trailer. So there should be no downtime in that process, and there's no third party, there's no maintenance provider you have to call, there's no breakdown provider you have. We handle all components of the life of that trailer when you have it under our lease and operation. And so part of that is us continue to expand our network of shops and in some cases mobile trucks to make sure we can be as many places as possible to offer that service across wherever our customers have transportation. But I see a lot of growth in that area, and I think from an end customer and carrier and shipper perspective, it's a model that's going to be that's really resonating.
Sorry, you mentioned in the very beginning of the interview that you just joined 10 about a month ago. So where did you start? What's next? What are you fixing? What are you seeing since you've been at the organization and putting your leadership into practice?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know it's been a fun first 3 weeks here. I'm learning a ton. I'm meeting with all kinds of members of my team in both the U.S. and Canada. I visited a bunch of shops already and met with some of our mechanics. Looked underneath some trailers and trying to understand kind of where are our strongest attributes and what's really working well for the organization. And there's quite a bit there. And then also seeing what the opportunities are in kind of scaling and growing this business to a really large scale operation. And it's not small right now. It's already over 80,000 trailers, but we do anticipate quite a bit of growth going forward, both in geographic footprint. We are mostly kind of east of the Mississippi today and throughout all of Canada, as well as density in scaling up our operations where customers need us most. And then also on our mobile truck side, that's really resonated with customers who will put a mobile tech maybe at or near a yard where there's a large fleet where we can be very efficient in our maintenance operations. So I'm kind of using a bit of the standard playbook of understanding our customers, understanding our employees, and seeing where the strongest, where we should double down, and some opportunities where we'll get more efficient to position for our next phase of growth, and then injecting likely a fair amount of technology along the way.
Ari, I like this question. I use it often on What the Truck, another podcast. So I want to pose it to you here. Over the next 365 days, you are successful in your role if, and fill in the blank for me. What is that?
That's easy. I'm successful if my customers are happy. And my customers will be happy if I'm delivering on a solution that allows them to be successful. Everyone has a customer downstream. And so I think the biggest way that we can make our customers, quote, happy and allow them to scale on their business is have assets available when they need it, have them in the shape and condition that they need to be to have high uptime for their fleet, and be able to scale and grow with them and be flexible and agile to meet their needs as they grow throughout their businesses as the freight market goes through its dynamics. I think a year from now, I suspect we'll be a larger company, a fair amount more technology driven with pristine standard work kind of end to end and a larger footprint overall.
So I love this conversation because I like talking about trailers. I think it's something that carriers, well, shippers, anyone who has this expense doesn't talk about as much, right? They don't cost as much as a truck,
Definitely.
but there is a huge cost involved in them, and they are an asset that you're tracking and need to put revenue on or pay for if you're leasing, right? And ensure that you're providing that service to your customer. So I love how you talked about different trailers for different types of business, right? And when I was in dedicated, we would look at that. All right, how many miles are we actually going to put on this trailer? Is it primarily going to be storage? And in that case, we aren't going to have as much of a maintenance expense versus to your earlier point, long haul over the road. So do you guys walk through all of that with your customers? How does that implementation and onboarding or initial conversation happen and work to truly understand the scope of what they're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's super important. You want to put the right asset in the right place at the right time. And, the cost of a reefer trailer is very different than the cost of a storage trailer for obvious reasons. So you kind of, to the earlier comments on the webinar here on growth of reefer trailers, definitely seeing that on our side as well. And so you've got the dry van versus reefer, which is kind of easy delineation based on what's being hauled. Similarly, flatbed can be a component of that. I think the more nuanced one, which you touched on, is how do you best assign the vintage of the trailer to the right use case, aka you don't want to take a brand new trailer and then use it for storage in your yard. That would not be the best ROI. You want to take the newest trailer and put it over the road, and you want to take your more aged trailers and maybe use them for lower miles because they're at a different spot in their lifespan. And so, yes, it's absolutely open discussion with our customers on the whole spectrum of different options that we have in the 10 umbrella and what's the best fit for their use case. Because again, if they're happy, we're happy.
So I always want to talk about the market and the impact it has on all of our guests and let our viewers learn from that as well. So current market, relatively tight capacity. I would love your take on it. And then how does it impact your business?
Yeah, I think market has ups and downs. Obviously, we're in a bit of a tight capacity situation at this particular moment in time, and it'll continue to ebb and flow. I think we're hopefully a solution, in most cases, a solution in up and down markets. I think, we can offset capital expense in both up and down markets, which, there's a use case for both of them. But I think more importantly, in an up market where things are constrained, we can inject capacity. And we can inject capacity, without outlaying CapEx for a growing transportation provider. And so I think it's a super exciting time for us here in 2026 with the current market conditions. And we are seeing this across our network of customers asking for more and more capacity. Some guys at very short notice, which is challenging but doable. And that's exactly our job and our opportunity to get them the right asset and the right type of equipment that they need, so that as their customers, give them opportunities they can go deliver on them. So I'm pretty excited about where the market's going and the impact it's going to have on 10.
That makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
I would want to, in this current freight environment, take advantage of the rates, drive as much utility as possible. Having trailers available to do that and working trailers available to do that is absolutely a key to that. So thank you so much for your time today. This has been a great conversation. Really, really appreciate it and hope to speak with you soon.
Great. Thank you again for having me.
All right, thank you.
All right, stay tuned. We will be back with our next in-studio guest. But first, we're going to take a quick break.
Race car drivers like NASCAR champion Jesse Love are a lot like commercial drivers, pros. But even the best in the world still watch the tape to see what they missed and get better next time. So we created the Samsara driving coach.
Great race, Jesse, but you were following too closely and you were speeding.
Okay, you got me on that one.
Samsara uses insights from millions of professional drivers to coach drivers in real time.
Because even champions need a coach.
Give me the keys.
What's the masterclass all about? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're a driver, you're an owner-operator, you're a fleet owner, whether you're in compliance services, dispatcher, no matter what it is, masterclass is for you. Every 2 weeks, you're going to sit down with me and we're going to go over certain business topics that are related specifically to your small trucking company operations. We're going to help you with everything from compliance to how to negotiate better on the spot board, how to find direct freight, and everything in between. This is the reason why you don't want to miss out on Masterclass. It's about an hour to an hour and a half, and then on top of that, you'll have the library to you so that way you can always research and reflect back onto it. Don't miss out this opportunity. This is built specifically for you. I'm excited and I hope to see you in class.
Imagine a world where your freight moves as fast as a digital pulse. What if your visibility didn't just tell you where a truck was, but exactly where it needed to be 48 hours from now? Think of a logistics network that corrects its own mistakes before they cost you a single dime. What if your supply chain could think for itself? Imagine AI agents negotiating rates in milliseconds, predictive models that solve labor shortages before they even happen. This isn't science fiction, it's the agenda. On July 15th at the historic Old Post Office in Chicago, FreightWaves presents the Supply Chain AI Symposium. We are defining in real time how AI is embedded into every mile, every warehouse, and every handshake. Because in 2026, the future isn't just coming, it's already negotiating. The FreightWaves Supply Chain AI Symposium. Secure your spot now.
Welcome back. Still ahead, the CEO of one of the fastest growing 3PLs in the country, $600 million, all organic, Jason Provancha of Steam Logistics on the market, global trade, and what's next. He is coming up. But Malcolm?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think of the show so far? Tell me one thing you've learned today.
One thing I've learned so far, really from our first interview with Bo, I didn't realize just how big drayage truly was. Like I understood it given my history, but the agent model to me is something that has never registered in my brain. Very, very, very fascinating stuff.
I mean, it's amazing and so entrepreneurial. It's complicated.
Absolutely. It's genius. It's brilliant.
And I think that they're so much bigger than people think too as a company.
Absolutely. I love the independent franchisee, of course, probably still because food is on the brand, but just to have that different service level, whether you're at this location or that location, and just their presence as well as in Houston, I definitely learned a lot today. What about yourself?
I mean, I always learn a lot from our guests, but this morning when I was reading about nearshoring prior to hearing about the Echo and the Morning Minutes, I learned a new sonar ticker that I didn't know was out there, which I'm embarrassed to say, but also kind of excited about. There's a Mexico to U.S. contract truckload volume ticker.
Okay.
And I didn't know it. mexvol.mex.usa. Or
Nice.
no, mexvol.mex.usa.
Okay. So
And you can
that's
track
all
the volume. And then you can also do it the other way too,
And you
right?
can
You can
flip
track
it
the
US.
volume going back and
Yeah.
forth. I don't know how I didn't know that was there, but Now I do.
Listen, we Blue to Blue, we got a lot going on. There's a lot going on within Sonar, and that's a gift of our technology and what we're able to do here at FreightWaves. It absolutely is.
Yeah. Anyway, so I love that. And then it made me think about looking at Laredo truckload, like using our other tickers market specific too. So I don't know, something that just clicked today that somehow didn't.
See, even we're learning on the job, and that's okay. That's okay.
I learn every day.
We learn every day.
For sure. All right. We are going to hear from our sponsor, Loves, and then we'll be right back with Jason.
In today's freight environment, every second of uptime matters. Of course, maintenance is inevitable, but large fleets cannot succeed on reactive fixes alone. That's why Love's Truck Care delivers smarter preventative maintenance. Love's understands that operational pressures demand a nationwide service network for better visibility, actionable intelligence, and consistent execution, all of which you protect your assets, reduce your total cost of ownership, and maximize your uptime. Maintenance is, of course, inevitable, but large fleets cannot succeed on reactive fixes alone. That's why Love's Truck Care delivers smarter preventative maintenance. Learn more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to FreightWaves Today. I am really excited to introduce the CEO of Steam Logistics, a guy I know very well. He knows me very well, knows the show very well. He has grown, as well as his team, Steam Logistics, into one of the largest brokers in the country. And we're very fortunate to have him on the show, CEO at Steam once again, Mr. Jason Pravancha. Hello, Jason.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to see you.
Appreciate it.
Not a lot of people know, but you probably do know by now. This guy is, I was telling Julie when we were getting dressed in the back, I was like, listen, if I were to get a DUI or something crazy, hypothetically, I'm responsible.
Never happened, but
Never ever happened. I'd call my mom first, and I'd call this guy second. You would answer.
I'm honored.
You would answer. You'd be extremely mad, but you would answer, and you'd be like, "What are you doing?" And you come get me.
Well, I haven't always been this responsible, so I think I would have a fair amount of empathy for that, actually. So, but I'm honored. I would accept the call, and I would be on my way to get you.
It's so good to see you. For those that don't know, tell us about Steam, the work you guys have been doing. I mean, we're going to get into a lot of questions, but just from a 50-foot post, what have you guys been up to?
Well, I was thinking about it going into this. We're now 14 years into this journey, which seems crazy that we've been doing it this long. But, this business originally started as a sister company to Access America Transport, which, is the domestic 3PL that ultimately sold to Coyote in 2014. And so we originally set this business up as the international sister company to Access America. And so we've been hard at it in the early days, just trying to figure out how to be freight forwarders, frankly, because all of us came from Access and this domestic background. And then we've added additional services along the way. And so now we're this integrated multimodal 3PL focused on international, which includes air, ocean, customs. We have a large drayage division, a domestic division that we launched in 2021, and most recently cross-border down in Mexico.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned multimodal, right? $600 million in revenue, all organic growth. So how do you do that? How do you grow that much, 14 years?
Yeah, it was in our DNA from the start. Access America grew that way, and since that was where we kind of grew up, we took the same approach. And so, the big thing with organic growth is you just have to be really disciplined around priorities because you don't have outside capital that you can lean on, and so you have to try to make smart bets with the limited capital that you do have, and hopefully those bets pay off and create more capital to make more bets. And along the way, you have to also be willing to recognize when you've made a bad bet and back up and kind of reapproach it. So
I can talk to this guy. I want you to get as many questions in because I'm laser focused. But
all right, so we talked about international, all the different things you guys do. Dray, multimodal, intermodal, customs, air, all of those things under one roof. So what does a shipper really get from you when they work with you? And then how do you manage the complexity of all of those different things?
Yeah, I think what we offer is a strategic partnership that can really align across most of the supply chain, as opposed to being a one-dimensional broker or freight forwarder. And because we built the business organically, we've really been able to avoid a lot of the silos that sometimes pop up when you're
growing by acquisition or other ways. And so, if you think about what we can do, we can pick up a container in China, we can bring it to a port in China, put it on an ocean vessel, bring it to a U.S. port, clear customs, pick up the container and dray it to a warehouse, translate it into a dry van, and then deliver it to its final destination. And so I think that really has helped us to really separate from the thousands and thousands of brokers and freight forwarders out there.
So the market's been tough the last few years, to say the least. How did you guys fare that and still grow? And what are you guys feeling now that it's turning? And the pressure is more on your carrier and capacity side than on the shipper and customer side.
Well, I wouldn't trade now for then, but I mean, the ability to grow through that, I think partially was because of our multimodal approach. If you remember when the pandemic was coming to an end, shippers were drastically reducing the number of partners they were leveraging because during the pandemic, it was kind of all hands on deck. You needed anybody that could provide capacity. And so as that started to happen, I think our ability to stay engaged with those customers was largely due to the fact that we could just solve more problems for them. We had more things that we could bring to the table, and we were a little less commoditized than some of the other 3PLs that ultimately got kind of peeled off of the strategy. And so that was a big part of it. Like everybody else, we had to cut costs. We had to get lean during the recession, but we also were able to reallocate some of those savings and continue to make those bets I was talking about. Cross-border is one that comes to mind when I think about, we launched cross-border in 2024, so right in the middle of all of that. And we didn't have a whole lot of capital to throw at it, but we had enough to get it going. And now 2026, you look up and it's doing very well. And we're literally opening an office in Monterey as we speak. And so we think that business, while still a small percentage of our overall revenue, has a ton of potential and it's growing really quickly.
So since you brought up cross-border, do you have thoughts on the headline on Echo today, wanting to dominate the cross-border?
Well, yeah, I did see the headline. I didn't dig too deep. I think Doug Wagner is an amazing guy, and I think he's built an amazing business. So I think they're probably making a really smart bet for themselves, and we will look forward to competing with them.
So classy. Good for you.
So classy. He always takes the high.
I'm not going to trash Doug Wagner.
No, there's nothing negative to say. I just was.
No, I think Echo's a great business. Thank you.
Now I lost my train of thought because
no, it's okay.
So thrown by how nice you are and stuff.
He's a nice guy.
Telling me the reasons why you're better.
He really is.
Don't let the rumor get out. I don't like that.
You've grown as well as a team at Steam, leaps and bounds. I was fortunate enough to be a part of some stuff at Steam. But one key point that I see that you've always been very big on is technology.
Yep.
Walk me through how you've been able to keep the fabric and the DNA of Steam and what it is, but then also innovate with the use of technology for not only your team, but for your customers that you service.
Yeah, that was the largest investment we made during the recession was in technology by far. And, a lot of what got us through that initial wave of growth early on was just brute force and great people. Yeah. We knew that, and we were okay with it at some level because we were having to do with what we had. And as we got larger and started to think more strategically about this next chapter, I would say the biggest thing that we did was we hired an amazing CTO, a guy named Aziz Penjwani, who I know you know, in 2022. And so we've been on a 4-year journey. I think he was a little surprised at how much he needed to do when he showed up. But he has hit the ground running, and it's been an amazing journey. Everything from what you might perceive as boring cybersecurity stuff, into an ERP system, into a new TMS, into a bunch of back office automation, and now AI with the 2 TMS and a customer portal, and so the list kind of goes on. But he's completely transformed and modernized our business over the past 4 years in a way that we think is going to be hugely beneficial as we start to go into this new cycle. And we think it's going to drive a ton of growth in a way that isn't quite the same as the last time, because the last time it was people, and we still care about people, and we'll still hire people, but people coupled with technology to make us more productive and deliver a better customer experience.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I want to talk about, we just said people, people, people. There's a person, and his name is Jeff Wood.
Yeah.
He was recently here for the keynote for the Domestic Supply Chain Summit.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the addition of Jeff now fully in Chattanooga and heading up what I think is a major component of Steam's business, being the domestic function.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. I've known Jeff since 2012 at Access America, and he was in our Minneapolis office. I was kind of an outside sales guy, and so I was traveling all around, and he and I collaborated on a lot of customers together, big enterprise customers, and I liked him from the start. I've always had a high opinion of him. After the sale to Coyote, we all kind of scattered a little bit, and he went off and did some great things, and I ended up at Steam, and ultimately we got him to come back a few years ago, and he quickly built the Minneapolis branch for Steam.
Yeah.
And it was very successful. And it was just like anything, sometimes it's a gut thing. You just start to go down a path and you think, okay, we need a little bit more firepower in this group. Who could we bring in who leads by example, who people respect, who has a high motor? And he just checked all those boxes, and he's been every bit of what we thought he would be and more. So
Absolutely.
It's great, yeah.
It's fantastic.
All right, so domestic brokerage. You want to share your thoughts on the SCOTUS ruling, and then what that means, not just for liability and safety, but then we have to ask about fraud too, and how you guys are faring with all of those things.
Yeah, I think we followed that case for a long time and had plenty of time to think about it. And fortunately for us, we had already developed a very robust compliance program. We have a guy who leads our legal and compliance department named Colton Sadler, who was a freight broker at Access America. I always joke that he's one of one, the only freight broker that became chief legal officer of a
I've worked with him on Sonar deals,
Right.
and I love working with him. He's
He's
like
a great
fast.
guy.
He knows what he's talking about. He understands how it
He's
impacts the
amazing.
business.
Yeah, and so he leads that program, and so he's been out in front of this. He speaks on panels all the time. I mean, he's very dialed in, and so we had already developed a very robust program, and it's layered, right? There's no silver bullet. It's technology layered with sound operational processes with solid execution, and you just layer those things. And so when the case came down, we were somewhat disappointed in some ways, but at the same time, we already had such a strong program. It really didn't change things that much. Now we're continuing to look at it and trying to figure out, how do we definitely do not need to overhaul what we have, but do we layer in some other things? And we're looking at that. But I think what would be helpful is if, and I know everybody's talking about this, but the FMCSA could give us a little more direction and kind of define some of these safety parameters. I think it would help everybody. But until then, we'll just continue to focus on what we have and continue to try to improve it the best we can.
And the TIA has asked for that,
Yes,
right?
of course,
So
yeah.
hopefully they'll continue to get support.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Steam and others are supporting the TIA in that ask.
Yes,
So.
and I think we will get it. I think it's just going to take time. And in the meantime, we're going to have to honestly, we share notes with our competitors on this. I mean, it benefits everybody to figure this out. And so Colton has great relationships with his counterparts all over the industry. And so we've gotten some good input from across the industry on this.
So as far as collaborating across the industry, I think the other thing that people are willing to collaborate on is fraud.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing there, and what are you doing to mitigate it?
Well, it's getting better in some ways, and it kind of depends on your definition of better. I think double brokering has kind of come down a little bit, but straight theft seems to be popping up, and that also is a layered approach. We do share resources with our competitors. We have very strong, repeatable processes in place to avoid those things. We're a customer of Highway. We think very highly of Highway. We have ongoing dialogue with them. And we have a great team under Colton who has tremendous amounts of experience from across the industry, from companies much larger than Steam in some cases. And so I think we're doing all the right things, and I certainly trust Colton and he, I think, feels very confident that we're going in the right direction. But it's a huge headache. I'm thankful there's a bigger light on it than maybe there has been over the past couple of years, which has been good.
You work with quite a few customers, right, across a lot of different modes, ocean, air, drayage, domestic. I mean, some customers, there's a breadth of services, multimodal approach.
Yeah.
How are you able to get information that is happening? I mean, for example, with the Strait of Hormuz opening back up, and you know, for example, the SCOTUS ruling. There's so many things coming from a news standpoint. How are you able just to get this into your customers' hands and keep them one step ahead, given just how vast your service offering is?
Well, we're doing a lot more consulting than we've ever done before.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with all the geopolitical turmoil and the tariffs and some of the trade compliance issues that have popped up, certainly the ocean market disruptions with the Red Sea, as you mentioned. And so more than ever, you know, there were times in our past where, you know, there's always been disruption at some level.
Of course.
But customers in more normalized times, they kind of have things squared away and they're asking you to execute a lot more than they're asking you to like dig into their business. But that's really changed over the past couple of years, and we're finding ourselves doing more and more of that. I think our customs team is a good example of it, because with everything that's happening with tariffs and, you know, starting last year, the duties were changing weekly, it felt like.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, it was a really cool opportunity for our customs team to shine, and they did, because often I think they've been sort of relegated to the back room, so to speak, and they've done amazing work in helping our customers navigate this. And I feel for those customers, because they have a broad range of responsibilities at work, and trade compliance may not be all of it. And so, you know, we're in a good position in that we get to do it across multiple verticals. We're, you know, doing it across multiple countries, so we should be able to deliver that kind of consultative approach. But I would say that's the biggest thing.
It's fantastic. Julie, do you have anything?
I mean, what's your take on the market for the rest of this year? Well, the rest of this quarter,
Yeah.
the rest of this year, and
This
into next
afternoon,
year. Yeah.
You know, I'm thrilled that we're finally coming out of this 4 years of darkness, so to speak. I wonder what would have happened if some of the capacity crunch, some of the things that were happening to, you know, with ELP and some of the things that have driven the capacity out of the market. I really wonder what that would have looked like if it would have been ongoing. I think the recession would have been, you know, a typical 18 to 24 months type of thing, and not 48 or whatever it was. So I'm glad that's behind us. We are moving in a great direction. I would just say I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. I think this capacity rationalization that has occurred has been structurally very good. I think the industrial economy is doing very well. I'm excited about participating in that, honestly. The thing I worry about right now is consumers, and I think that's the open question. I hope when this Iran situation hopefully continues to move towards peace, then we can put some added focus on the domestic agenda and see if we can get the consumer going again.
Yeah, I think that, yes, the ongoing peace talks with Iran or whatever seem to be ongoing and changing every day, every moment. And then fuel prices, you know, reducing it or getting, which means gas prices, hopefully will provide more positive sentiment from consumers. And then I guess we'll see. Is today the 27th? Prime Day and all of those things are happening this week. So we'll see if people are buying things, I guess. And that'll be a big indicator of this week as well. So current environment, we are seeing a lot of merger and acquisition. A lot of that is happening. Steam's never been a part of that. Right. Does that change in current environment, or is the plan still organic growth? If you're willing to share.
Yeah, I can share. We're still focusing on organic growth. I mean, we get things that come across to us from time to time where companies are going to market, and we get to look behind the curtain of that, and that's kind of part of our job at this stage in our company's trajectory, and so we look at those things semi-frequently, and we're not opposed to it. But I would say, back to those priorities, we're pretty militant about maintaining, you know, discipline around our priorities, and so it would have to fit well within that. We wouldn't just go chase something for revenue growth.
For sure.
So
now, future of Steam. Let's talk about that, right? Because there's these things. There's 6 of them. They're called Maxims.
Yeah.
You still have the fabric of the Maxims that you wear every single day, better than anybody.
Yeah.
How do you keep that just day in and day out, that core competency of Steam at the front of everything you do? Because you do.
What are the 6 Maxims? Tell us, for those of us who don't know.
Respect the team.
If you do this,
never settle. Obsess over the customer. Greatness requires grit. Collaborate and commit and do right.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
I appreciate it, sir. So those are the max.
Yeah. Well, I guess we were doing a good job of focusing on them, if you can still remember
I can
them.
still remember 'em.
It's just part of the culture, and culture is a living, breathing thing that you have to care for, and you can't just throw the words on the wall and expect them to magically show up in people's lives. So you have to talk about these things.
Sure.
And as you know, I send an email to the whole company every day.
Every day.
And many times that's being woven into some of that messaging, and it's meant to just be kind of a update, but also a positive look at like where the business is going. And so that's important. And one thing we've added since you left is we have, I don't think you were there when we did this, we have challenge coins. So
I was not here for this.
You're familiar with
What
challenge
is this?
coins. Okay, so challenge coins, they give them, they're very popular in the military and in the police and places like that, where they'll give a commemorative coin to somebody for a job well done. It's just, kind of a nice way to recognize people. So we created a challenge coin for each Maxim.
Nice.
And then quarterly we do these nominations, and people get to nominate people for living into one of those 6 Maxims or more. And then we hold a ceremony and hand them out, and we live stream it to all of our offices. And we try to make it a big deal, because that's the kind of stuff that people need to be highlighted for when they're really living into your culture.
I love that. I love that. Now, I guess the question I have, and I know we're running up on time, but I just noticed with you, it's like, you're still the same guy I met 7 years ago. Still the same guy you were when you got into the CEO
Probably
seat.
less hair, but
Me
other
too.
than that,
Me too. How do you keep this fire lit every single day? You're just very even keeled. You're never too high, never too low. You're just ready to go. How do you stay that way, Jason?
I think that if we've done anything right at Steam, is we've assembled a great team, and the people that I work most closely with are some of the best people I've ever worked with, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, we take our job seriously. We try not to take ourselves too seriously, and when you get to come to a place every day that you actually enjoy being, and that's been part of why we designed the culture the way we did. If you're going to spend all this time at work, it should be a place that you actually enjoy. Unfortunately, you spend more time at work than you do with your families in most cases. And so we were pretty intentional about what we built. And I just feel so privileged to work with the people that we have and just to be a part of that. We try to keep a very low ego environment, as you know. We really don't care where ideas come from. We just want to champion the best ones and highlight the people that bring them. So when you can kind of keep that ego in check and everybody's kind of pulling on the same side of the rope, it makes it a lot of fun.
You'll win.
And a beautiful building right across the street.
Yeah.
Love the Spain flag, by the way.
Yeah,
great touch.
We've had a lot of fun with that. Having the Spain national team across the street's been really cool, and a lot of people cruising around, including Spanish television and all kinds of things. So it's been great.
Never dull.
Well, we will definitely have to get up to the open container.
The open container. It's our little bar on the roof, and we do all kinds of fun stuff up there. So
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, Jason, really appreciate your time. I could talk to you for the next 6 hours, but
that's right.
Business is business.
We can get dinner. That's okay.
Yeah, we got dinner on the way for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. This has been great.
Good to see y'all.
This has been awesome. And again, this is Jason Pravancha, CEO of Steam Logistics. And with that being said, we have much more in store here on FreightWaves today. We'll be right back right after this.
Race car drivers like NASCAR champion Jesse Love are a lot like commercial drivers, pros. But even the best in the world still watch the tape to see what they missed and get better next time. So we created the Samsara driving coach.
Great race, Jesse, but you were following too closely and you were speeding.
Okay, you got me on that one.
Samsara uses insights from millions of professional drivers to coach drivers in real time.
Because even champions need a coach.
Give me the keys.
Super successful people are part of the 1%. They're part of that very, very small percentage. That's why I don't want you to do things that everybody's doing. I want you to do the small things that nobody else is doing. The people that are most successful in this business treat it like it's the only thing that's bringing income into their household. If you do that, then you'll have the same results. These people operate like they have no other chance. They have nothing else going. This is the only breadwinner that they have in play. I'm Adam Wingfield, and this is the FreightWaves Playbook. Become part of the 1%. Sign up for FreightWaves Playbook today.
Welcome back. Jeff D'Angelo is the co-founder and chief executive officer of Fura, an AI-first brokerage that grew from $10 million to $90 million in 3 years.
Wow.
In the worst freight market he's ever seen. Jeff, welcome to FreightWaves Today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. And my dog's here too. I think I talked to your producer.
Oh my goodness.
She doesn't leave my lap throughout the day.
Jeff, this is
So now
great.
we need to know her name and
Yes,
a little bit about
all
her
the
before we
things.
get into all the questions.
So this is Birdie. So
My
if we were
puppy's
gonna
name is
have-
Birdie.
Oh, if we were going to have a female dog, which is great, she's amazing, I had to be able to name it, and I'm a big golf fan. So I had to name her something that I don't make a lot of lately.
Hilarious.
10 out of 10. That was a great one. So, well, we have Birdie in pocket. So this is great. This is going to be a fantastic interview. Thanks again for being here, Jeff.
No, thank you. I watched a little bit of the Provencha interview. He's great. He was one of our first customers at Turvo.
Yeah, no, Jason is a phenomenal guy and great conversation. And talk to us about, because you guys are an AI-first brokerage, $90 million run rate built during a freight recession, may I add. Give us a 30-second version of what you're building and why specifically now, Jeff?
Oh, it's a great question. So not only we are an AI-based brokerage, it's really a bunch of tools, not just AI, but we're a roll-up. So we buy, traditional brokerage companies. We digitize as much as we can. As a matter of fact, we focused on, the perfect shipment. People call it what they will. But everything we think in the process of freight brokerage, most of it can be automated. And you really have to hire for great people, like the best in the world. And for us, it's about growing inorganically, but we've grown a lot organically as well.
Definitely.
So tell us part of how you do that. So I think I read a stat that 39% SG&A expense is your number versus obviously other brokers have significant, I would say like 60 to 80% SG&A expense. So how does that number define your model? How do you get there? What are you guys doing to make that possible?
It's a lot of work. It's a heck of a lot of work. But, we believe in, what we call a zero waste supply chain. So, one of the first things we do is we offshore to amazing team members. And I think a lot of people offshore, but the folks that we offshore are, they're just as good, in some ways better than our onshore, folks that I've seen in the marketplace before. They're all company people, though. They're not individuals. We standardized everything that we do. So, I was talking to someone earlier today, and And I said, one of the things that we probably do different is we have almost like a Chick-fil-A model in that everyone answers the phone the same way. Everyone has the same sort of conversations with customers and carriers. And it makes it easier to drive costs down, not only because we get more customers that way, but we create a standard where it allows for automation and adoption of technology, which is one of the most challenging sort of things at bringing in AI or other tools. And once you do that, there's no limit to what you can automate.
Jeff, I absolutely love that analogy about the Chick-fil-A model because it just shows kind of the continuity, right, within the organization. It also shows that everything looks and feels the same, which is definitely perceived well, I'm sure, by your clients and customers. So I love that point that you made. I want to talk about the Pinwheel acquisition. 26 people down to 8, a swing from a $150,000 loss to $1 million in profit, GMV from 12 million to 30 million. Walk us through, how does this happen?
Well, one of the most interesting parts about that deal is in every deal that we do, we've done 6 deals, is a lot of companies don't have the resources to support the folks that work with customers and work with carriers every day. So that's number one. Number two is a lot of these companies, they get to 20 or 30 million, and it's almost like a glass ceiling. They can't grow beyond that. It becomes a plateau. Some of it has to do with process. A lot, honestly, has to do with technology. Our go-to-market strategy for organic sort of revenue is being the best in the world at literally one thing, and that's visibility. Everybody says they have visibility, but the way we roll it out is very different. So share of wallet with those folks increased significantly. Automation has allowed us to, not spend as much money in those businesses. And it's really not as much about costs as it is growing that revenue and providing an amazing experience for the people, but also customers and carriers. Like, I'm a big believer in amazing experiences, like providing experience for everybody, like I said, Chick-fil-A, so that you don't want to leave. You want to be a part of something that's very, very different.
Now, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
You mentioned that you guys have done 6 deals, so I imagine you have a robust M&A pipeline. What is it that you guys are looking for?
It's a great question. So we have done deals over, we've talked about and been a part of deals over 30 million. In this market, think of like the Montgomery rolling. The amount of impact that's going to have on our industry from those small to mid-sized brokers that can't afford to get to the next level, even if they invest, because they haven't sort of built the machine structurally from the ground up to be able to support that type of compliance. And so any brokerage that's usually in the range of 10 to 30 million, we're targeting. And then we do a lot of research. I was watching your Craig's interview of Brad Jacobs, and he talked about research. We do a lot of research. We work with the CEOs on where the opportunities to grow revenue are, where the opportunities to have synergies, and I would say reverse synergies as well. If they have amazing people, those people would do really well in our environment to help them grow. The first 3 months, honestly, is really about earning trust of the team and assimilating them into the culture and then providing technology they've never had to allow them to grow the business. And to me, like, yeah, you're showing some of our stats, like those kind of brokerages, you have great people wanting that kind of support and that tech that have never really had it.
So you mentioned Montgomery. What is that doing to change how your organization works when it comes to vetting carriers? And then on the other side of that, how do you think it's reshaping what shippers are willing to pay and what they need from brokers?
We could talk about this all day long.
Yeah.
I think if you ask different folks in different industry, they'll tell you, they'll give you a difference of opinion. I think number one, like I said, if you don't build the infrastructure to support it on day one. We have several technologies. We actually use AI to do compliance. There's still a human at the end saying, yep, and we do it on every shipment. That corresponds with operationally and what we expect from the shippers to support having the right person, right driver, the right equipment, the right VIN number, the right pictures of all the trailer, the tractor. We do it on every shipment. And then the way we roll out visibility, it's a broad thing, is we provide our tool set, not a customer portal, but an actual platform for not only the customer, but the shipper, the receiver, and what we call the constellation that surrounds that shipment. So everyone's sort of expected to collaborate around a single entity we call a shipment. Not everybody does that. Not everybody has done it. So it puts a lot of pressure on the have-nots to do those sort of things. I kind of have a thought around what it's going to do to shippers, because a lot of the larger shippers, especially, they don't care about the Carmack law. They still force down the liability upon the brokers, and we don't sign that. Like it's hard on a broker with, especially when we're acquiring companies, to be able to support that. And I actually think shippers should take a larger role with less partners in having a common sort of goal together to either share in the cost or have collaborative SOPs to ensure everybody minimizes the amount of liability across the board. Because they aren't just going to go after broker, right? If it's a shipper, they're going to go after the shipper as well.
Now, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about growth, because you've added, 85 new customers organically last year, but it's not necessarily 85 new salespeople. It's 2 salespeople only. Do I have that information correct?
Yeah. I don't want to give everything away, but it's a different approach. Every person that we try to hire in either a senior role, and we don't go through, everyone stays with us. Like, they love, it's a first idea wins culture, or best idea wins culture. It's act like a CEO culture. And the sales folks, sorry, I'm getting blown up, but the sales folks that we have lived in both worlds. They've lived on the tech side and they've lived on the logistics side. And when we built the sales machine, Ryan Morrow, who's an amazing CRO, 12 years at TQL, but then he spent 3 years at Inception, which is a tech marketplace and platform. When we designed it, every customer goes through sort of a discovery process that's very different than traditional brokerage going to market. That sales process identifies across customer service, finance, logistics, C-suite, and we really map out not only the organization, but the challenges. And challenges could be, my customer calls our customer service people 10 times a day to say, where's my truck, or where's my document, or where that is. And so we put together a plan for everybody, and we say, this is what we would do. You can try us out transactionally, but we're still going to give you the tools. And as you sort of grow with us, expect that your customers are going to get the same tools you are. And it makes it really a differentiated process, like I said, comparably, and we focus on one vertical at a time. So one of the challenges with this industry is you've got a lot of brokerages that are spraying across many different industries. And for us, it's about becoming very focused, which is, you'll hear me say that a lot, very focused on one vertical where everyone is close. Everyone knows each other. So your reputation, if it's good, it spreads quickly. If it's not so good, it spreads quickly, probably quicker. So that's kind of been our focus. And we do what's called a constellation sale, which I'm not going to share how it goes, but you can imagine based off of what we call it, how it works. And honestly, it made it very easy. This is organic. Again, organic customers, not inorganic. But the fastest way to grow customer base, obviously, is inorganic.
So talk us through what you're using AI agents for. I think I read a stat that 80% of operations is automated at this point. what are the people doing versus what's automated and AI doing? And is that 20% just exceptions, or are there specific roles that you keep humans doing repeatedly?
It's a great question. So we have, I would say, the AI agents and other tools. Again, this isn't just about AI. AI is just a tool, right? We sort of use. And so in a lot of parts of our business, there's about 80 to 85% of automation, meaning like no human gets involved. So our AI agents, we build an algorithm, which is our tool set. It's not using a third party, to predict price and actually to bid until it wins or hits the floor. Once it sort of wins a shipment, then we automate shipment creation. And then that shipment gets shared out to our network programmatically, where the carriers can book through an email or through the platform. So basically they can requote it, like meaning they can say, hey, instead of $500, I want $600. And AI can basically say, yep, that'll work. Then we have both an inbound and an outbound agentic AI that makes calls or receives calls. We were losing about 40% of our phone calls because we were so busy and we couldn't support it with people. And so one of the biggest things we wanted to solve was, number one, how do we answer every call? Like, you have to be able to manage every call. You have to be able to support every call. So right now, around 30% of our shipments are covered by some agentic AI, usually a human, sometimes email. And the goal for me is to get to, call it 95% by the end of the year. Like I said, shipment creation's there, document collection, track and trace. We use several tools to do tracking. We have notifications set up for each person differently, where it notifies them if there's an issue. Like I said, we still are a brokerage. Like, we still have to do the manual work, but it's not 100% automated. Our goal is to get there, right? Or at least, have just people dealing with exceptions.
So you've been around this industry, specifically freight tech, for a little while now, and exposed to a lot. What do you think is sort of the biggest thing happening in this transportation landscape that we should be talking about and that people should know about?
So I've been around for almost 25 years. So I was I'm aging myself, obviously. And the early days of, let's say, TQL or Megacorp, again, they relied on people. And honestly, like, logistics companies, sorry, I'm going to let her down. Logistics companies are really people-based. And what made them great historically, make them, I wouldn't say weak, like, it's still relationships matter, but it makes it harder for them to compete in the future. When I was building Turvo, so I was a founder of Turvo, one of three, I got to be in the most interesting meetings at board level, with the biggest companies in the world, with tech organizations that were building autonomous vehicles. Like Volvo had some really interesting stuff. And obviously AI is going to take over. So there are a few things that, long-winded here, but there are a few things that I think are really interesting. One is this idea of AI to AI. And so think about today how fast AI has evolved. And in the future, when it's AI to AI booking, AI to AI creation, AI to AI negotiating, you think of what that impacts in our industry. It's really hard to say, but in terms of, like, to people, that there's not going to be as many people as there was. I'm sorry. Like, I have that thought. Secondarily is the platforms that are built. Why would they have a user experience on top of them? There's no point, because you don't have sort of humans interacting with those things. So I think that's going to happen. When I talked about Volvo, you're going to have, so Volvo has what they call Vera, is like a autonomous skateboard that sits under, the trailer and moves it around. You have, all these testing around autonomous vehicles. I think those are going to become nodes on the network that are booked, and they can be booked automatically by an AI agent. Are we there today? No. But I think in the next 5 years or so, it's going to evolve so quickly, faster than people would expect. Even though our industry historically has been behind in terms of innovation, it's a $1.4 trillion market in the United States. There's a lot of money going to be thrown at this from an AI perspective, and there already is.
Jeff, I felt like number one, I'm very, very impressed with you, but I will say Birdie is the MVP because of the behavior. I've not heard one bark. I've not heard anything. So I'm impressed with you, but Birdie is a little bit more impressive, I just have to say. So
And that's
she's the
coming from a
best.
cat
She's the
person.
best.
yeah, I'm a cat dad too. So that's like really impressive for me to say that she is the best for sure.
Well, I couldn't put a cat up here because then I would look like Dr. Claw from like the old days. And it would look a little weird. At least Birdie softens that, that view.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. She softens for sure. My final question, you've answered it a bit, but is there anything you can double down on in the next 5 years that people aren't necessarily paying attention to right now that you're just like, hey, you'd be an idiot not to do this. I have 25 years of experience. You should listen to me probably.
I don't know if you should listen to me, but
I will.
All right. So one of the most interesting things that I think we were early on is business model innovation. So the market, and what I mean by that is how you make money. So the market is sort of fraught with companies that make the spread between what they bill and what they pay. And some companies have a transparent model. But what I think is going to happen is sort of the hybrid between managed service and brokerage, where the cost per transaction is going to go single digits. I believe that. And so, the business models and how you make money can change. So think of, you might make $25 a shipment. Then you might make, money on insurance. Then you might make money, like there's going to be different levels to monetize that business, but then the customers are going to have the same tools you have. So anyone that doesn't sort of transform their business, and it's really hard for people to do in companies, into sort of a new way to compete, think of Charles Schwab and the $8 trade, like that stuff is going to happen and someone's going to step in and do it and be the first to the space.
Absolutely.
All right. I feel like we are left with like a lot to ruminate on, and I need to think about the future, and my brain is going to have to work on a little bit of this. But it's been great. Thank you so much for sharing all of your information and letting us hear more about your organization, and we hope to talk more with you soon. And again, thanks for being on.
Jeff, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
All right, so I'm thinking about the AI to AI, right? And that like eventually it's going to be an AI agent negotiating on both sides, right? The carrier's going to have an AI agent negotiating, and the broker's going to have an AI. And so, you know where that brings me back to?
Where is that?
Do you know who wins?
Who wins?
Who has the best data mode? Like your data is just going to become more and more important in those conversations, and data that helps that negotiation happen in a way that makes sense and that moves quickly and updates frequently is going to be so important.
Data is king, Julie Vandekamp. It is indeed.
That's what my brain goes to anyway.
100%. It should. It should. That is a question. If we're playing Family Feud right now, I'm Steve Harvey. That is number one, top of the board. 100%.
Good. Always want it to be.
Come on.
All right. It's been a great show. Malcolm's going to be back with me again tomorrow.
Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
What's tomorrow? Who do we have?
All right, so tomorrow we have 4 guests that you don't want to miss. We have Norris Barron, 25 years advising trucking CEOs, joining us. We have Hans Stig Moeller, Chief Executive Officer of Odyssey Logistics, on the show. We'll have John Kingston, FreightWaves Editor-at-Large, back on what's happening with oil markets and diesel, as we have every Tuesday. And we will have Zach Myborg, third-generation trucker, 200 trucks, 3 million square feet of warehousing, and a fight to clean up the industry. So all 4 tomorrow on FreightWaves Today, again, starting at noon. Remember to interact with us on social media, FW Today. We'll be back at noon tomorrow, and then Wednesday live at 3 Eastern.
Okay. Good change, good pivot. So we'll
Yeah.
see you tomorrow at noon and then Wednesday at 3 Eastern.
That's right. Great show tomorrow, and thanks for tuning in today.